Hey everyone, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and today we're doing a case roundup for 2014. This includes all of the cases, for the most part, that I saw at CES 2014. So we're highlighting some of the best here. I did see about 30 cases, and this one we're going to start with the mid-range gaming enclosures. So this will be cases in the $100 to $160, $170 range, stuff that we technically 150 plus you're entering enthusiast, but we're going to call it mid-range. So first of all, we're starting off with the NZXT H440 case. This is the one I'm not afraid to call an innovator in some ways. I mean, they removed the optical drive bays, so sure, other cases have certainly done that. But in this market, it's generally not seen too much for gaming enclosures. So NZXT has removed the optical drive bays. They've also added a power supply shroud covering the power supply and all the cabling, which is awesome. That's something that's generally modded in by case modders. They added it in stock, so that's pretty cool. It's not something you have to pay extra for or anything. It's just included. This is a $120 case. It ships with three 120mm front fans and can support, obviously, a 360mm radiator in the front if you remove those fans. And additionally, the top will support a 360mm radiator if for some reason you wanted to, or if you just want it at the top. And then the rear supports a standard 140mm fan, and that's about it. There are no bottom fans because the PSU shroud covers everything, and there are no drive scaffolding mounted fans. So that is the H440. It's very cool looking. It ships in black, red, and white black. So basically on this case you're seeing right now, replace all the white with black and all the black with red, and that's the other option, and here's a photo of it. So that's the H440. Let's move on to the next mid-range case here. This is a $160 case. It is $40 more than the H440, and it's the Thermaltake Corvy 71. So the Corvy 71 I thought was pretty neat when I saw it in their suite at CES 2014. It weighs in slightly above the H440 in terms of size and price. That said, it does have a bit more cooling support if you want a 420mm radiator for whatever reason. If you're building something insane, go for it. This is the case. Supports 420mm radiators in the top and the front, and supports just about every other radiator size in the bottom, the back, you name it. In terms of cool features, you can actually mount a hard drive vertically on the rear side of the case, the right side. So if you want to mount something vertically and get easier access for cabling, you can do that. And finally, it does come with a pretty large side panel window. This is different from the T81, which we'll get to in a second. The side panel on the V71 is just a standard side panel. It's one window, one panel, no quote-unquote suicide doors that you'll see on the T81. It is mesh across the whole case, so the front and the top, that's all mesh, and then the sides are standard steel. And now we're moving into the enthusiast market. This is for cases that are in the 180 plus sort of spectrum. And we're starting with Corsair's Graphite 760T. It is a full tower case. I was in love with this case when I saw it at CES just because of the massive side window. It's pretty neat. It actually hinges outward, so the side window gives you good visibility inside. Of course, this one they had on display actually has the fourth video card is bent, so don't do that at home. It will be very bad for your motherboard, but that was a display system, so I imagine it was a shipping issue. The 760T, in terms of fans, ships stock with three 140mm fans. Those are the AF140Ls. It also has an included fan controller that can switch between high and low. That's 12 volts and 7 volts. So you can run the fans at about half speed, maybe 60% speed. Aftermarket air cooling. You can include three 140mm fans in the top, two 140s in the front, and one 140 for rear exhaust. And then finally a 120mm bottom mounted fan if you want that for your video card cooling. So the biggest thing here is it's just the window. The window is the coolest thing. Overall, pretty easy to cable manage from what we've seen, and very good looking with the side panel. So moving on, Wheelermaster's Half XC doesn't yet have a price, and it's actually in flux. This case might not make it to market in its current form, so do let Wheelermaster know if you'd like to see it. This one is special because it's kind of like Corsair's Carbide Air 540. That's the double wide case, as I call it. It is like a double wide trailer. In both the Air 540 and the Half XC that we're talking about now, you install the power supply and the drives and some of the other non-essential, we'll call them, board components in the right half of the case. They're completely obscured to the user. And then you install the board and everything else as standard in the left half of the case. And on the Half XC, the left half has a full side panel window. So just like the case I just spoke about, it covers the entire side panel. So you can see everything in there, and it actually bends around, angles around the corners, which is pretty neat. So that can give you some pretty awesome options for lighting and cascade lighting effects if you do any modding. Moving on to the Thermaltake TA1, this is our next enthusiast class case. This one is priced at $180-ish. Thermaltake sort of described it as a 900D that fits under your desk. So instead of being your desk, it fits under your desk, which is probably a good thing because the 900D is pretty freaking big. So we saw that last year. The T81 is part of Thermaltake's urban family of cases, and it's similar to the V71, except it has a hinging quote-unquote suicide door left panel. You can actually use a key to open the side panel, and then there's a black steel body that covers the drive scaffolding that opens separately from the glass panel that covers the motherboard and the rest of the core components. Other than that, it does ship with the same full radiator support. It fits about every radiator you can possibly think of, and just like the V71, it's the 420 millimeters, 360, whatever, everything. So same specs, just a little different side panel and a little bit more expensive. And it includes 3 200 millimeter fans installed stock with removable dust filters, and that's pretty much it for this one. It does again have modular cages. Moving on to the Antec 1900, this is our final in the enthusiast lineup. It is a $205 case. Technically, I think MSRP is like $270, but it's everywhere for $205, so that's what it is as far as I'm concerned. I saw it for $170, which was an insane deal on Newegg. Definitely keep an eye out for that in the future. Again, the 900D had a huge target on its back this year. Antec and Wheelermaster were both gunning for it, so was Thermaltake, and even Corsair is kind of competing with themselves in a way, but no one quite touches it in terms of size. The 1900 is a little bit skinnier than the 900D. It's a little bit shorter, but it offers almost the same internal specs. So it fits, I think, 17 total drives. That's including the 5.25 drives. So it will fit 12 3.5s and 2 2.5s natively, and then 3 5.25 drives. It has 9 expansion slots, so it's a pretty damn big case. And stock, it ships with all fluid dynamic bearing fans. These are real FDB fans, not the fake ones that we've seen with other cases. And they are in order: 3 120mm front FDBs, 2 120mm top, and 1 120mm rear pre-installed fan. So that's everything for the 1900. Definitely worth looking into. I was pretty excited about the price for the amount of features we get. Moving on finally to the last 2 budget cases. So these are the ultra budget cases for system builders. The GX900 is the first one. I don't have a price on this yet. I have a very good indication that it is going to be a sub 70 price point, but we will see. It's similar to the GX700 that I reviewed recently. The body, the chassis are a little bit different, but in terms of target market, it is very similar to the GX700. It ships with support for 170mm CPU coolers in height, so that's pretty good. That covers just about everything, including the Argon AR01, and a 310mm video card, so again, just about every video card on the market, except for maybe some really crazy ones. Cable management wasn't a huge feature with this case, as with all the other ones we've discussed, but it does have enough room. You can fit pretty much a whole hand back there, so as far as we're concerned, you'll be able to manage it easily enough, and it might take some more fighting than the other cases, but definitely a possibility to manage all your cables. So nothing too special here. I want to give a quick shout to the P100 because it's also a very good case. The front panel's a little too flimsy for my taste. Hopefully they'll fix that, but it is a $100 case if you want something slightly more expensive, also from Antec. And finally, Wheelermaster Silencio 452 is a $95 case. It is a silent themed case, so it uses 800 RPM fans, which they're a little bit slower, but much quieter. I think they advertise 15 dBA. I'm not sure how they test that, but that's what they advertise. It doesn't use mesh paneling for the fans. Instead, it uses slits in the side of the case, similar to the H630 by NZXT. And what that means is the noise is directed away from the user toward the back or the side of the case, so the user isn't hearing as much of the fan noise. The case itself has a more discreet look. It's all pretty flat, matte colored, and not too gamer themed, quote unquote. This case does support slightly smaller CPU coolers, so keep that in mind. You're going to eliminate a few since it's only 158mm in height. Hit the link in the description below for the full article coverage, and quick shout out, if you don't like these budget options, check out the Roswell Stealth. That's in a video. It should be on the sidebar, my Roswell CES coverage. That's a bit cheaper. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. We will see you all next time. Peace.